2/5 multiplied by 1/3. Very simple and straightforward. We literally multiply the top two numbers and then we multiply the bottom two numbers. 2 times 1 is 2, and then we go through, multiply the two bottom numbers. 5 times 3 is 15. Let's try another question. 1/2 multiplied by 3/5. So this is essentially saying we want half of 3/5. Multiply straight across the top, multiply straight across the bottom. So 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 5 is 10, so our answer is 3/10. For our next example, we've got 3/4 times by 2/5. So we're going to do the same thing again, 3 times 2, which gives us 6, and then the same thing on the bottom, 4 times 5, which is 20. We want to always double check to see if our answer is simplified as much as it can be. 6 and 20 are both in the 2 times tables, so I can simplify that further to be 3/10, and the way that I did that is to get from here to here, I've divided by 2, and remember you can always multiply or divide by a number and it gives you the same fraction as long as you do the same thing to the top as you did to the bottom. So by dividing by 2 on the top and the bottom, we get 3/10.
Now let's have a look at multiplying fractions with algebraic terms.
We have got 2a over 5 multiplied by 1 over 3b. So following the same thing as we did before, we're going to multiply straight across. So 2a times 1 is still 2a, and then 5 times 3b, that means that I've got 3b 5 times. Now if I look to see how many b's I actually have, so that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 b's. So let's try another question. We have got x over 2y times by 5 over 6. Again, we're going to multiply straight across. X times 5 gives me 5x. And then 2y times 6. 2 times 6 is 12. And we still have the y, so it's 12y. With these questions, you want to double check to see if there is anything that you can simplify a little bit further, whether it's simplifying the numbers or even the letters. So 15 and 12, they're not in the same times tables. X and y are different, so that is our final answer. For the next question, we have got 2x over 5z times 3z over 5. Again, following the same rules, multiply straight across. 2x times 3z. I'm going to go through and multiply my numbers first. I'm going to do 2 times 3, which gives me 6. And then when we're multiplying with algebra, if I have x times z, or any letter, we can just join them together. So that gives me xz. Okay, we don't need to write the multiplication sign anymore. And then doing the same thing on the bottom, 5 times 5, so multiply the numbers first, gives me 25, so it's 25z. We're going to just double check to see if there is anything that we can simplify. So I'm going to go through first, look at my numbers, 6 and 25. They are not in the same times tables, so I cannot simplify the numbers. However, if I look at the letters, I've got xz over z. There is a z on the top and the bottom. We can cancel them out. Okay, z divided by z, anything divided by itself is going to give us 1. 2 divided by 2, how many 2's go to 2? It's 1. 10 divided by 10 is 1. So if I have a letter over the same letter, it's still going to give me 1. That is how the z cancels out. In its simplified form, I'm going to have 6x over 25. Now in our next questions, it's going to get a little bit more tricky, and I'm going to show you a way to simplify from the beginning when you're first given the question before multiplying out, and it makes your life a lot easier later on as you're answering the question. In this first example, we've got 2a over 3b times 4b over 7c. Now before you get started multiplying, you can start cancelling things out from the very beginning. So just as we did in the previous question, we looked to see if there's any numbers that are in the same times tables from the top and the bottom. So if we look at our numbers, on the top we've got a b, on the bottom we also have a b. So straight away I can cancel those two out. And if I just check my other letters, I've got an a, but there's no a's on the bottom. I've got a C, but there's no C's on the top. So B is the only thing that I can cancel. So now I can multiply straight through. So I'm going to do the top line first. So 2A times 4. 2 times 4 is 8A. And then along the bottom, I've got 3 times 7C. 3 times 7 is 21. And we still have the C. You can see here, because I cancelled things out and simplified from the beginning, I don't have anything that I can simplify from this fraction. So this is the fraction in its simplest form. 3x over 2y multiplied by 4y over 3z. First thing we're going to do, look at the numbers, see if there's anything in the top that I can simplify or cancel out with the number in the bottom. And we can see we've got a 3 and a 3. So these two cancels down to 1. So I'm going to just cross those out. And now I'm going to do a similar thing for the letters. So let's see what we have. We've got a Y on the top and the bottom. So if we cancel those out as well. And now just going through, double checking. Okay, we've got X, there's nothing on the bottom. We've got a 4 and a 2. They do cancel out. 4 divided by 2 gives me 2, and that's on the top. So I know that this 4 will change to a 2, and this 2 is cancelled out. So now, if I work this out, I still have my X, I still have to times it by 2. On the bottom, just gives me Z. So I'm going to have 2x over Z. And that saved me from having to multiply all these numbers and then simplify at the end. Now we'll try the next question. So I have 3x over 4y multiplied by 2y over 5z. Again, the first thing I'm going to do is to see if there's any times tables that appears on the top and the bottom. I've got a 2 and a 4. I can immediately cancel out the 2, and the 4 changes to a 2 because 2 times 2 is 4. And the only thing that repeats on the top and the bottom now is the y. So I'm going to cancel those two out. And now I'm left with 3x times 1, which is 3x. So we've got the 2 here times by the 5z. 2 times 5 is 10, and we still have the z. And again, you can see 3x over 10z. I do not need to simplify it any further. Okay, these next two questions are very similar to what we've just done, but they have powers or indices in them. So let's try this one. Just like before, we're going to try and cancel out as much as we can. So these 2's can cancel out. I've got a B here and a B here, so they can cancel out. And then if we look at the A's, I've got A squared over A. Looking at what that means, that is A times A over A, and we already know if there's a letter that appears on the top as well as the bottom, we can cancel them out. So these two will cancel, and it leaves us with an A on its own on the top. So I'm going to cancel out the squared part. It leaves me with the A on the top, but I also need to make sure to cancel out the 1 on the bottom. So putting this all together, I have A times 5 on the top, 5a, and then on the bottom we just have a 3 left over. So here you can see how we've managed to reduce the calculations because we've cancelled most of the things out of the original question. So let's try one more question like this. Again, we're going to go through and see what we can cancel out. So what numbers appear in the same times tables? We've got a 3 and a 3. So those two are going to cancel out. And then we have a 4 and a 2. And then finally for the y's, I've got y cubed over y squared. For this question, I can cancel out this power because it leaves me with the y on its own. And on the bottom, I can cancel out the y squared because we have nothing left here on the bottom. Now going through, we can see that I've got 2y on the top, and on the bottom, I'm left with an x. So the final answer is 2y over x.